Hello! About 11 months ago, so almost a year ago, shows how much of a slacker I am, I posted a video on YouTube called Metal Bassist Does Rig Rundown. And because it's nearly been a year since then, I've done a lot of things. I've done countless shows with Steel Mage, and I've even been on tour with Cannibal Corpse and Dark Funeral. So, as well as doing all that, within that time, I have in fact upgraded my bass rig. Really barely, but I have still upgraded it, and I've been wanting to do an updated rig rundown video for quite a while. So, here we are. If anyone doesn't know who I am Tom, and I am a bass player. So just like last time, I'm going to show you around my rig. I'm going to make it as brief as possible. I'll go through the patch or preset or whatever you want to call it that I'm using on the line 6. I'll show you the pedals and I'll show you the wiring around the back of the rack. I'll show you how it sounds, so hopefully this video isn't going to be too long and take up most of your day, but we'll get things done. Like I mentioned, I'm going to make this as less time consuming as possible, so we'll jump straight into it. First things first, as you can see at the top here, I've got my Line 6 Pod HD Pro X. This is a guitar and bass rack mounted modelling amp if you're unaware. Unfortunately, in the editing software for this, when you create your presets and patches, there are more guitar pedals and amps, etc. than there are for bass, unfortunately. However, you know, if you're someone like me, you just kind of have to work with what you've got, and luckily for me, it's played off really well. I've managed to come up with something that sounds, I think, massive. Next we have my pedals. They've literally not changed at all. So I've got my Shure GLX D16 wireless, my Darkglass Microtubes X, and my Darkglass Microtubes X Ultra. Nothing has changed here at all other than some of the EQing, because now that I have this bad boy up here, this does most of the EQing as opposed to this. So before I had the Line 6, I had, you know, my EQ was a little bit more exciting on my pedal, whereas now it's just completely flat. The things like the low level and the high level, the blend on them are still the same as far as I'm concerned. Like I said, the only thing that's changed is the EQ on that is completely flat, and the EQ on this handles all of it, I suppose. So really quickly, I'm just going to take you through my live bass preset. As you can see, it's just live bass right there, 1A. I do have another preset called Hairy Balls, which is just it's literally just a flanger, an octave, and a fuzz pedal. It was just a joke preset, really. The rest of them are completely empty slots because I only use this one tone. At some point I'll end up making a clean tone for my bass, but I don't use a clean tone that often. So if I click on the view button here, you can see what I've got in the effects loop. So literally the first one is effects loop, and that's literally coming out the back of my Darkglass here into the back of the amp. So the effects loop is another way of saying my pedal board. And next I've got my tube compressor, which is the best sounding compressor on this amp. As silly as that sounds, it is my favourite one. It's the most even, the tightest it compresses. It's super hard. I am a metal bass player, so you know I rely on that compression a lot. I've got my, honestly, to be completely honest, I have no idea what the amp I'm using is, or the microphone, or the speaker cabinet. As far as I'm concerned, they're the best sounding for metal bass. So if anyone's interested in that, just give me a message and I'll point you in the direction of it. Next I've got just a parametric EQ. Like I said, that handles all of the EQ. This used to handle the EQ, like I say, but now it doesn't. It's completely flat. So yeah, that is just an EQing pedal. That is just a noise gate. Pretty straightforward, does what it says on the tin, really. I have my noise gate turned up quite high in terms of thresh, so it's extremely snappy, good for the snappier playing and the tighter playing. And on the end, I have no idea what this is. Yeah, not a clue. Well, there you go. That's my live bass preset. While I'm here, I just thought I'd really quickly go through what I've got in this bottom drawer here. It's just full of shit, really. I've got 2 straps, I've got some zip ties, I've got loads of picks, as you can see. I have screw bits, I've got a Sharpie, I've got a tune string winder, I've got some super glue, What else? We got, as you can see, I've got 2 packets of strings. I've got some tape, which, as you can see on the top of my rack, if I point the tripod up, I've got some tape, and I also marked the front and back, I guess, panels of this rack case. As an example, I have this, and I've just kind of put Tom Live Bass, Steel Mage, rear, that goes on the back, obviously. So then I have my wireless. I have these things, which are little business cards, which I don't tend to use that often, but they are a nice little touch to have. They're a little bit whack, but I've got some photos of me, and yeah. I've got these. These are really nice. These are called bongo ties, and they're obviously for cables and things like that. I suppose you can use them for whatever you want, but cables are probably your best bet. I've got my wireless pack. I've got some in-ears. I've got a noise gate pedal, which I don't use, but I have anyway, just because I feel like at some point I'll need it. I even have some drumsticks in here. I have some 9-volt batteries somewhere. Yeah, I have a load of shit in this drawer that should just come in handy at some point. This is literally all I have for the back of the rack. I'd like to say that my cable management skills are really good, but to be completely honest, they're nothing more than mediocre. I've literally used them bongo ties like I showed you in the drawer to tie up my cables, such as my effects loop cable, which I mentioned earlier, which is going into the back of my Darkglass. I have my DI cable, which just kind of stays coiled up here, as you can see. And usually what I'll do is I'll just throw this in the back of the case, and if they've got a DI box on stage, then I can just hand them the end of that cable. I should really look into getting a DI box for here, just to make life a lot easier, but honestly, it's just out of laziness that I'm saying that. It doesn't make a difference at all. I have this extension lead here, which, as you can see, I've got 1 zip tie going over the end outlet here because I don't use it. I only need 3 plugs for the entire rig, so it just kind of keeps it nice and steady, keeps it in place. I have my pedals all coiled up, the pedal cables all coiled up, all the power supplies. Yeah, and that is pretty much it. That is literally it. The extension lead, that's all coiled up as well, and that'll just go under here or something. I don't know. But yeah, dead straightforward. Moving on. This is how my rig sounds. So yeah, that is my bass rig after 11 months. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've got any questions, please feel free to message me. My Instagram link will be in the description below, or I'll leave my username right here. So if you want to go and follow me, and like I said, if you've got any questions, just feel free to ask. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.